Welcome to Unwiring Tech, the podcast that cuts through the noise to explore how AI is rewriting the rules of society, governance, and digital future. I'm your host Ranjana, and today we are talking about an issue that is as emotional as urgent: the online spread of non consensual intimate imagery, or NCII. Now, if you have seen the way intimate photos or videos are misused online, sometimes leaked, sometimes morphed, and sometimes deliberately weaponized, you know how fast it spreads and how deep the harm goes. And let's be honest, for the victims, especially women, this is not just online harm. It becomes a full blown psychological, social, and sometimes even economic crisis. And India never really had a clear, unified system to deal with this. Victims had to run from platform to platform, from police stations to helpline, repeating their trauma again and again. But that has changed now. The Ministry of Electronics and IT has just released a standard operating procedure, an SOP dedicated entirely to stop the spread of NCII online. And the story of how this SOP came to be is as important as the SOP itself. So the entire story traces back to a case before Madras High Court earlier this year. A young woman, a lawyer by profession, found intimate videos of herself recorded without her knowledge, circulating across dozens of websites. She took every step she could. She filed an FIR, she approached platforms, she reached out to authorities. Yet the content kept reappearing. New links, new uploads, new sites. It was like fighting a hydra. Ultimately exhausted, she reached the judiciary to get her voice heard. The High Court did not just sympathize with her, it recognized that she was trapped in a system with no clear protocol, no coordination, and no accountability. The court basically ordered Methi to respond to her appeal and get the content removed from across platforms. That judicial nudge is what led to SOP we have today. Now, what does this new SOP actually do? Instead of scattering the victim across 10 different systems, the SOP now creates a funnel in a predictable, structured path. Victims can approach whichever route they are most comfortable with. One-stop center, the platform itself, the cybercrime portal, the helpline number 1930, or even the local police station. The key is that now all these routes eventually feed into a coordinated system, no dead ends, and because this is often a moment of extreme trauma, the SOP emphasizes dignity as no victim is expected to hunt down URLs alone or explain their ordeal 10 different times. Here is where the tech and law start working together. Once a victim reports any NCII, platforms can't just sit back or buy time. They have to act within a stipulated timeline. The SOP mandates action within 24 hours. Not only taking down the visible content, but also preventing it from coming back. Think of it like this. It's not enough to clean the spilled water. You must also turn off the tap. So platforms now need to deploy hash matching, image recognition tools, even crawlers to hunt down duplicates. Search engines must de-index links, cloud providers have to block access, and all of this has to be fed into the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, which will be building a national repository so that once something is identified as NCII, it becomes easier to prevent future re-uploads anywhere on the web space. And that's a big shift. Because for years, victims were stuck in a loop of seeing the same content reappear endlessly. Now the system and not the victim carries the burden to prevent its proliferation and reappearance. What is most interesting is how the SOP quietly builds a networked response. The police, Methi, the Department of Telecom, I4C, and the social media platforms are no longer working in isolation. There is now a feedback loop. A complaint does not just disappear into a void. Rather, it is under scrutiny across agencies until it's acted upon. For search engines, CDNs, access providers, platforms, and government bodies, this is now a shared responsibility. If the content reappears, the burden is not on the survivor to start from zero again, as the institutions are supposed to track it and stamp it out. It almost feels like enforcement agencies are finally treating NCI as a matter of digital dignity and not just a technical infringement. Stepping back for a moment, what this SOP really signals is a shift in how the state views rights in the digital space. For years, privacy and dignity online were treated as a personal responsibility with advisories that would provide sermons like don't click suspicious links, don't share personal images, don't trust strangers. And this SOP flips the narrative. It acknowledges that the harm is not the victim's fault. Rather, it's the responsibility lies with the system, the offenders, and with the platform that host or spread the content. And in future, where deepfakes and AI-generated intimate imagery are becoming more realistic and more accessible, a framework like this is essential. It tells victims that their suffering won't be dismissed, and to platforms that they can't hide behind safe harbors if they ignore someone's trauma. Further, it signals to the society at large that dignity is non-negotiable. So that's the story behind India's new SOP on NCII. It is a document born out of a legal plea, shaped by digital realities and rooted in the idea that every person deserves safety and respect, no matter where the violation occurs. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Unwiring Tech. I hope this conversation helps you see the law not just as a set of rules, but as a tool, one that can be shaped, pushed, and strengthened to protect the people it serves. See you in the next episode of Unwiring Tech. Thank you.